Howdy folks, welcome back to WAC. I've had a bit of time to play around with the sea mines that were recently added to the game, and boy oh boy have I learned a lot. I've also talked with the devs on what future plans are for this new deployable unit, and what current features are intentional as well as what are not. Keep in mind that new units and items are sometimes balanced shortly after release, so everything I talk about in this video is subject to change. First off, let's cover the basic features of this new deployable unit. Starting at the level 1 destroyer or the level 4 corvette, you have the option to deploy sea mines. They use the consumable called deployable gear, so you'll want to make some of those at a level 1 army base. Once you have your ship parked where you want the sea mines, hit the deploy button and spawn in some sea mines at a cost of 5 deployable gear. What's interesting is that they can be set up in coastal or deep waters, and this is intended according to the developers. Once deployed, they last for 4 in-game days or 1 IRL day during 4 times game modes, obviously. When a hostile target passes through a cluster of sea mines, they engage in melee combat, and that enemy naval stack will not be able to break away unless all of the HP of the mine cluster is depleted, or if they choose to lose HP and retreat. As of now, they do have a sonar signature, so anything that can see subs will be able to reveal sea mines as well. Though a stack of naval vessels will need to be set to the aggressive firing mode to engage them automatically when moving, so destroyers and subs still may engage in melee combat if the enemy isn't active or doesn't have security counsel. Keep in mind that the devs are on the fence as to whether or not they have a sonar signature, so this may change. They do not attack neutral targets, which is a bad thing if you want Homeland City protection, but will also avoid accidental and unwanted wars. In the future, they may have the option to attack neutrals using the guard mode, and would then act as a roadblock for sneaky countries sniffing around where they shouldn't be. And while there is always a possibility of there being higher level sea mines, that is currently unlikely. And from my testing, I personally think that they don't need any buffs anyway. Well, I've covered all of the basic features, but what are the implications for the naval gameplay in Supremacy World War III? Well, these are a fantastic counter to cruisers. In most games I see, people who want a powerful navy typically just use cruisers, which is kind of boring in my opinion. Now a player with a stack of destroyers can 100% take out a stack of cruisers if they use sea mines intelligently. Spawn a stack of 5 or more sea mines, let the enemy cruisers run into them, then attack them at range while their ships are preoccupied with clearing the cluster of sea mines. The one time I did this, they just decided to run away. A wise choice when fighting war always changes. Let's take a look at some stats and think of some scenarios. But a quick note, if sea mines are in fact spotted and destroyed at range, then that was simply a waste of deployable gear. So we will look at scenarios where vessels engage in melee combat exclusively. Okay, so when you have a full stack of sea mines deployed in the water, they have 100 HP, do 20 damage against ships and 25 against subs. So while they aren't the end-all be-all, they certainly are an imposing roadblock. And like with most other units in the game, you can of course overstack them. The largest stack I did was 16, and this stack had 320 HP with 23 ship attack and 28.8 sub attack. This is just stupid silly, but if you did manage to get an enemy stuck in a field of sea mines this dense, it would maintain its full attack or more while the cluster of mines stays at or above 100 HP. Now, what naval vessels do the best and the worst against sea mines? In this chart, we are looking at destroyers, cruisers, and attack subs. Corvettes and frigates are just really low health compared to cruisers, so expect them to perform worse versus sea mines than the big ol' cruisers would. Level 1 vessels of course struggle the most against sea mines. Destroyers get hurt, but not nearly as bad as attack subs and cruisers. Using destroyers to counter cruisers with naval mines is an incredibly viable tactic. Max level vessels predictably can tank a full cluster of naval mines. This is especially true since sea mines do not level up over time or with research. Though if an attack sub gets into a melee engagement with mines in shallow water, they will end up taking a lot of damage. Now, if we go to a ridiculous scenario like using 15 or more sea mines in one location, that will end up taking out most every type of naval stack. Only max level destroyers have a chance in such a scenario. But if you can pull it off, this would be at least a 10-to-1 difference in resources expended, comparing what it takes to make a stack of 5 vessels and how much deployable gear is needed for this type of ambush. Realistically, this is a tactic I would only use if I knew the enemy player was AFK and didn't have security council. And that is of course because if they don't have the aggressive firing mode and aren't there to stop a stack from moving forward, they will run into whatever is in their path. However, even if those two things are true, you could still drop sea mines to stall while you run away from a stronger stack of naval vessels. And as a side note, these calculations on combat results are rough simulations, not a guaranteed result. So how would this new unit affect gameplay and the meta inside of Supremacy World War III, aka Conflict of Nations? Well, I don't think it will change most naval encounters for most people, as a lot of the time new units and abilities go underused. But I honestly hope this isn't the case, because these bring new challenges and opportunities to the game in a seemingly balanced way. And I don't think they will necessarily be popular in Alliance games since most people playing those matches are highly active, and using resources to make deployable gear in case you need to retreat might be seen as planning for failure. For me personally, I think my new go-to will be destroyers and frigates instead of cruisers and frigates. The frigates will make up for the lack of AA on destroyers, and the destroyers will take on most ships and all subs normally, and will dominate cruisers if I have the time to set up sea mines where I need them. The main thing that stops naval mines from being OP is the in-game 4-day timer. This means that it is difficult to maintain a defensive perimeter around your coastal cities, and while they are fairly cheap to deploy, the cost adds up quickly over time. For key bottlenecks, however, I can see how it would be very worth it to maintain a full cluster of sea mines. The Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, the Mandab Strait, the Strait of Hormuz, the Bosporus Strait, the Strait of Gibraltar, the English Channel, the entry to the Great Lakes, and around Denmark are all valuable waterways to secure. At the end of the day, I like balanced variety, and this offers that. I wish the timer lasted longer, but with how cheap they are, the 4-day timer makes sense. Do you think they are balanced, and have you had a chance to use them yet? Well, let me know, because I love hearing from you guys. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching till the end. You're the best. See ya!